The most talented people cannot work quickly and need care and patience in their handling. The only way I can find talent is to do it very slowly, to get to know them, to take a walk with them, to meet their girlfriend or their mother and father and so forth. I find out who they are and what is inside them, what their souls are, what materials they have inside them for our art. And when I find that, I know whether they have talent or not.
I make an assumption that the meeting with Kazan was a very remarkable moment for him. Kazan was a perfect person for a guy like Marlon because he was his intellectual equal. And they're both iconoclasts. So that match came with Streetcar, and all of a sudden, Marlon Brando showed up.
Kazan sent him up to Provincetown to read for me, and the plumbing wasn't working, the electric lights had gone out, and we were stranded in this little cottage between Provincetown and Truro. And he came in there 4 or 5 days after I was told to expect him. He repaired the plumbing, he repaired the electric lights.
Brando?
Yes, then he sat down and he read, and all of a sudden Margot sprang up and she said, "Get Kazan on the phone." I've never heard such a reading in my life. And of course, I hadn't either.
Where's Stella?
She's outside getting some air.
How do I look?
Look okay.
Many thanks. Well, looks like my trunk has exploded.
Yeah, me and Stella was helping you unpack.
Well, you certainly did a fast and thorough job of it.
Well, it certainly looks like you raided some stylish shops in Paris.
December 1947, Streetcar Named Desire opens, and it's still one of the seminal Broadway openings of the last 100 years.
Would you think it possible that I was ever considered to be attractive?
Your looks are okay.
I was fishing for compliments, Stanley.
But no, I don't go in for that stuff.
What stuff?
Compliments to women about their looks. I never met a woman yet that didn't know if she was good-looking or not without being told. And there's some of them that give themselves credit for more than they've got.
The next day, the whole city was talking about this young man. You know, people started, even on the show, started to imitate Stella. You know, he became, everybody knew who Marlon Brando was.
From the moment that he came on the stage, you had the feeling that the whole way of acting had changed.
The thing that impressed me was, I didn't see an actor. I thought somebody had made a mistake and walked on the stage. But at the same time, my hairs were standing up at that because he was so full of this contained energy.
Huge is the word, and brutal and real.
He would do the scene, and I said, "Oh, that's great." The next day, the same scene, different, completely different. And you say, well, wow, you know. He had something that no actor I've ever acted with, and very few that I've seen have it. He's a genius.
I was an understudy for Kim Hunter. Well, one evening, I got to play with Brando, and I was thrilled. The scene where he hits me and Stella runs upstairs, that famous scene where he yells, "Stella!" I started coming down the stairs, and I looked at him, and tears are just pouring down his face. He would dig inside of him and pull out all the hurts, and he had a lot of them from his childhood.
We're all inhibited, and we don't want to let people see into that. Whatever it is, sexuality, anger, pain, those are things we keep private. And yet acting on the stage and in film is opening an avenue to personal privacy. And it takes, in the case of Brando, somebody who really believes it so deeply that he commits to it, committed to it every night.
And look at yourself. Look at yourself in a sworn-out Mardi Gras outfit running for 50 cents with some rag picker.
Please.
You know, I've been on to you from the start, and not once did you pull the wool over this boy's
eyes. You come in here and you sprinkle the place with powder and you spray perfume and you stick a paper lantern over the light bulb, and lo and behold, the place is turning to Egypt, and you are the queen of the Nile sitting on your throne swilling down my liquor. You know what I say? Ha ha!
he became a star. And of course, then he left and did the film.
The screen does a great deal for Marlon because you can get close into his face and catch all these wonderful flickers of mercurial flickers of emotion that he has, and that all great actors have.
He got a lot as an artist through his relationship to the camera. I think a lot of it.
You must be Stanley. I'm Blanche.
Oh, you're still sister.
Yes.
Oh, hi.
He was doing what I aspired to do, what I do, acting, you know, and he was doing this with it.
Hey, Stella!
He was taking it and turning it into something that was not just someone you went and appreciated, but took it into another place, to a place where you laughed to yourself. You had a private joke with yourself when you watched him work. Because he touched those things in us, those private places. And of course, Streetcar, you just go, whoa, hold it, you know, whoa, what are you doing? People are looking at this.
There's sometimes a tendency to focus on what an icon of kind of, you know, masculine energy he was. But I think for me, it's kind of a juxtaposition of things in him. It's that he's at the same time incredibly masculine and incredibly feminine.
You just go to him. I mean, if you're a guy and you're like heterosexual down to your, you know, toes, if you see him as Stanley, you're like, you know, you're like he's irresistible.
Well, Marlon, you've played something like 14 roles in 10 years now. Which has been the most important one so far as you're concerned?
Well, I think Streetcar was the most important and perhaps the most satisfying because I had a great respect for Tennessee's play. It had another unfortunate, aspect, and that was that people invariably associated me with the part I played, so that it was difficult to believe that I didn't eat off the floor or that I, didn't run up the street with my shoes off. And so it's been a hard thing sort of living that down.
I am not a Pollock!
Marlon, if you knew Marlon, was nothing like that guy. I mean, he was aesthetic and poetic and oddly romantic in actuality. I mean, there were sides of Marlon, and what Marlon was able to do is to extend sides of himself and completely subordinate others.
Most actors up until that point sort of recreated life when they acted. They didn't act within the moment. Marlon would just be the person.
Marlon, who brought all of that kind of raw, surprising, dynamic humanity to everything that he did. When people struggle to be real, they're dishwater. When people struggle to protect themselves from their own reality, they're Marlon Brando.
Face and your fingers are disgustingly greasy. Go wash up and then help me clear the table.
Now, that's how I'm going to clear the table. Don't you ever talk that way to me. Pig, Pollock, disgusting, vulgar, greasy. Those kind of words have been on your tongue, and your sister's tongue. There's too much around here. What do you think you are, a pair of queens? Just remember what Huey Long said, that every man's a king, and I'm the king around here. And don't you forget it. My place is all cleared up now. You want me to clear yours?
Before Brando, actors acted. They acted. After Brando, they behaved. That is the difference. Extraordinary effect on the history of drama and on the history of movies.